We love you very much.
The only shame is I couldn't watch you die twice.
Reconsider your tone in the face of your betters.
And goes to grab the back of your wings to hold you in place.
You're a piece of shit. You always were.
Flicks you off.
We have all heard of Matt Mercer, one of the biggest names in Dungeons & Dragons. He is also one of the best GMs in the world, a voice actor and chief creative officer, and now a player for Critical Role's newest campaign. And instead of picking your run-of-the-mill hero, he's gone for the type of player we are told is toxic or bad form, and it works. But do we actually hate Sir Julien Davinos? Is he really that unlikable? Let's look into it. Let's break down why Matt Mercer might be a genius, and how a character who spits on corpses and doesn't get along with others can actually work, and why this is opening a door to a whole new style of player characters. Welcome fellow nerds, I'm Flamey, and I only drink flat coke. I don't like bubbles. Today's informative amusement will be centered around baby boy Matt Mercer, how and why he would create this new multi-layered player character we all love and hate at the same time. You know, like spicy food. It's gonna hurt tomorrow, but it tastes so good now. Anyways, you're probably thinking, Flamey, why does it matter that Matt wants to play Jaime Lannister minus the incest? I hope. Matt's doing something that doesn't usually work, and somehow it's working perfectly. There's something behind that. Something in how he plays and builds a character that feels like the whole world's behind their eyes. And we'll get into that. For now, kids remember and don't forget, he's playing the kind of character most people would crash and burn with. My guy doesn't like playing on easy, I know that. So if you want to pull off a Sir Julien Davinos, first we need to look at why he wouldn't normally work, the traits that would usually piss you off dealing with, and how to make a lovable rogue out of them. And I mean, come on, it's not hard to picture that player. We've all had at least 6, arrogant, judgmental, thinks everything they're doing is right, doesn't give a damn about respecting others, you know, like spitting on them, likes to get his pickle wet with everyone. The player that turns up to every session without fail and you sit there thinking, what are they gonna do today? I mean, I've got those traits from Julien. Didn't you? But I don't dislike him. In fact, I kind of love him. So how does that make sense? Well, pull up a chair and buckle up. Flamey is gonna tell you. For new DMs or players or viewers, you might not know what a toxic or problem player is, and for that, Reddit's got your back. I mean, damn, there's like hundreds, if not thousands of posts of people dealing with players who are doing shit pretty similar to how Julien acts. Self-righteous, lecturing people about honor, disrespecting others. And it can be really shitty when you're GMing a game when you have someone like that at your table, and it's really hard to navigate them in a decent way. I've had a few players like that, and they have sucked the life out of the table. Or they're just so distracting it messes with the whole table vibe, and everyone's struggling and giving me glances like, come on, sort it out, and you do. You combat their crap and the next session, it's back to the same old stuff again. And I think sometimes people just want to roleplay that misunderstood character. They want to be an anti-hero, have a redemption arc, but as soon as things don't go their way, it's easy for them just to go, well, my character's a dick, so I'm gonna be a dick. And that's what's so confusing about Sir Julien. He's a dick. He's spitting on corpses, and we're like, yeah, that's so Julien. Or he grabs Thimble's wings and no one's kicking off. That shit wouldn't fly at your table, and the other players would be finding it unbearable. But with Julien, it's almost magnetic. It's definitely a fine line, easy to cross, and your players don't tend to forget easily. But that's what makes it so tantalizing to want to play. And you know what? After watching Matt do it, I'm fully invested in making my own arsehole. But how are we going to do that? What's the difference? Why did Sir Julien, the embodiment of red flag, somehow work? There's something happening underneath the surface, something most players never even think about, but it's not off the table for any of us. Let's talk about it. So how is it working? What is this dude doing? Like, this man is out here spitting on corpses, arguing about honor, and we're sitting here like, king behavior. What kind of sorcery is that? Let me tell you, sweetie, it's role-playing. When Matt walks in the room, he's not taking over the scene or doing things out of character. He's not being intentionally cruel, because his character is. So I can do that all the time. No, if you watch him, he just keeps to himself until it's his moment, or if it makes sense for him to jump in, and he does. He thinks about how his character would act. He uses the silence as a weapon. It makes it so when Julien walks into a scene, you know he's there, because he's not just loitering around for shits and giggles. He has purpose. Even the scene in episode 3 where he's looking for Octis, and he could just outright call out Octis' disguise because he knows it's him. But he doesn't, because the other characters don't like him, and it would make his task of bringing him back even harder. So he waits. He hides around the corner waiting for Octis to walk around, because that's what Sir Julien would do. Or when everyone was upstairs looking at the angel coffin at the Fang residence, he didn't go upstairs gawping, he stays downstairs with Lady Aranessa because that's what he would do. There's a huge difference between being a dick for the sake of it and putting that thought behind your character's actions, and only doing shitty things when it really makes sense. And the energy between him and Brennan isn't obvious, but is harmonizing. They aren't interacting with each other, but bouncing off each other in a unique way, where everything just flows so naturally, almost like Matt's a character GM. His descriptions of his actions, Julien's scenes really bring depth to him, more so than just surface level arsehole. And it's not because Matt's paid to do it, that argument's old now, come on kids. But his career is part of it, and it's something a lot of us do. Any guesses? Yeah, he's a forever GM. Think of the thousands of NPCs, villains and monsters that man has played. As a GM, you build these intricate, well-crafted plots, characters and worlds you pour your love into every corner of them. Even those throwaway NPCs get quirks, goals and sometimes weird fetishes. Yeah, I see you. I know who you are. It's baked into us to give depth to everyone, to hand out redemption arcs, to make them annoying, funny, cruel, and somehow lovable. It's our craft, it's our curse. That's what makes us storytellers. So can you imagine Matt playing a plain old hero with 1 or 2 layers for 3 years? My man would be bored to death. I think the skills you gain from storytelling are specifically the reason why Matt can make a lovable anti-hero bad boy. Would you like an example? Sure. How about Essex from Campaign 2? He's confident, witty, and dripping with secrets and hotboyness. But as the campaign goes on, it's revealed that he was the traitor who leaked the Luxon Beacon information to the Dwendalian Empire, sparking part of the war between the two nations. Why? Curiosity, arrogance, and impatience. He wanted to understand the beacon's dunamantic secrets faster than the dynasty allowed, even if it meant selling them out. When that truth comes out, it's devastating. The Nine feel betrayed, Essex's entire identity built on the cleverness and control collapses. And when the Mighty Nine discover Essex's betrayal, he doesn't run or deny it, he admits everything. His arrogance crumbles into shame as he faces the consequences of his curiosity and pride. But instead of killing them, the Nine offer him something far more powerful, mercy. And that mercy changes him. Essex begins quietly making amends, helping the Nine with research, travel, and their fight against Lucian, all without political gain or reward. For the first time, he acts not out of ambition or self-interest, but genuine care. It's the start of his redemption, choosing to do good when no one demands it. You could tell Matt loved playing Essex, and every time Hotboy came out to play, him and Liam were like little school kids, all excited. The best redemption arc of Critical Role's history. And I can see this happening again with Sir Julien, weaving his story in a way that's going to be high stakes, emotional, tense, and full of growth. And you know what? He's a storyteller. He wants to cook, so let him cook. Flamey, what does all this mean? Well, curious viewers, it means that Matt has created a perfect player type for us forever GMs. One that will satisfy our need for depth, storytelling, and mischief. It sets up for a roller coaster of a ride for your fellow players and one hell of a redemption arc. But that does all come down to one very important thing. Can you break the forever GM cycle? It's hard, man. I love playing, I love GMing, but to find a replacement can be difficult. I have players who want to run a one-shot for Halloween or something, and I get to stretch my player legs, but know this. When that time comes, you'll be ready. You'll have your own Sir Julien Davinos, prepped and filed under will never get to play. But don't fret for other players. I think this could work for you too, especially more experienced ones who are looking for a little something extra. I think what's important either way is that you're straight with your GM about the type of player you want to be, and I'm sure their response will be, it's going to be a lot of work, and I would personally like to understand them better so I could take them out of the toxic category and into the redemption arc one. So be bold, be brave, and try something new. If you wanted to get out of the GMC even for a mini campaign or a couple of sessions, now is your time. Matt has given us an excuse to try something different. Just remember, put your storytelling skills to use, be patient, give your scenes weight so everyone else at the table can feel it. Make your dickish motives clear and meaningful, not just for flavour or boredom, and try not to cross lines with your players they won't like. We all have an Essex who we love role-playing, so try bring that energy across to the character side. Follow through with their arc. It's great watching Matt do it, but know your table. I believe in you, you rascal. Do you like Matt's new character? And if you were gonna make a Sir Julien Davinos, what would you call him? And what backstory would you give him? Let me know in the comments so we can dig in. If you want to check out my other videos relating to this campaign of Critical Role, you can check them out here. And as always, stay spicy, adventurers.